All right. So moving on, let me just walk you through our agenda this morning. We'll start talking about the market trends in the Philippines, and for that we will be talking about the 4 points or 4 main points on what the trends are in the Philippines. Next is the investment strategy itself, which is the property flipping, and then last one is how do we maximize the myELITE platform in choosing the right property for our clients. So now, before we go into that, let me introduce first myself again. I'm George Bagaporo. I'm a product manager for Oh My Home Philippines. I'll be the one conducting the presentation for this morning and will be supported by Claire and Elmer along the way for any questions that you might have specific to the properties. All right. Just to introduce Oh My Home first, as what Miss Reyes have mentioned, she is one of the founders of Oh My Home, and it is co-founded also by Ms. Rhonda Wong back in 2016. And Oh My Home aims to make properties transaction simple, fast, and efficient with innovative solution through its online ecosystem. Now, as you can see also in the right-hand side, one of the biggest milestone of Oh My Home is that it being listed in Nasdaq in 2023. Now, Oh My Home is present across 3 countries in the region: Singapore, Philippines, and Malaysia. Now, focusing on the Philippines, Oh My Home Philippines, as mentioned, designed a product specifically help agents, brokers access information to over 1,000 projects all over the Philippines. And this myELITE product is able to support client referrals, and lastly, is able to support a personalized property website for agents and for their members. Later on, we will be talking about that specific product vertical of Oh My Home Philippines. Now, just to give you a view on what myELITE has been doing also. So again, myELITE is a network of agents and sellers across the entire Philippines and also some abroad. And these are some of the events that we do. We mostly conduct face-to-face events in our office. So as you can see in the picture, this is our office in the Philippines, where we invite our agents and brokers and do some trainings and some seminars with them. All right. So now let's talk about the market trends in the Philippines. Let me introduce to you to the real estate market trends or the macroeconomic trends in the Philippines. Feel free to cut me if you have any questions and chat in our chat box if you have any clarifications in mind. Okay. So yes, we acknowledge that there has been a lot of things happening in the world right now. And despite it, Philippines is still a good place to invest in. Having a deficit of over 6 million housing units, both the government and the private sector is really committed to addressing these challenges. Of course, by being adaptable, innovative, and creating more sustainable projects across the entire country. Now, as mentioned, there are 4 major macroeconomic trends we will be talking about, and this would help you give a view on why is it good to invest in the Philippines. First is the strong economic growth of the Philippines. Philippine GDP in 2023 ended in a good footing, having a growth of 5.6%, which means that the economy is expanding and creating new wealth. In fact, this growth outperformed major economies in the world or even in Asia, such as China, which has, as you can see there in the screen, Vietnam and Malaysia as well. Now, there are several factors that contributes to this growth, but let me mention to you 3 points. First is the recovery. There is a continued recovery from the economic impacts of the pandemic. And Philippines right now is easing out the pandemic restrictions back in 2 years ago. So tourism has started to look good or to show signs of recovery. And Filipinos are starting to spend. Next point is inflation control. So in the latter part of 2023, inflation started to show signs of easing. And the last point on this major growth is the strong domestic demand. As mentioned, consumer spending and investment with the Philippines were robust in driving economic activities. So not just consumer spending, but the government is also uh, trying to double down on its spending to make sure that our economy grows. Now, in relation to that, the second point is the government's infrastructure development. Now, there are three main agencies in the Philippines who is tasked to improve the living conditions of our country. And first of it being is the Department of Public Works and Highways. So here are the key projects under this agency. One is the development of freeways from currently 510 kilometers to 1,816 kilometers. These expansion of freeways aim to connect the metro to the nearby cities in the outskirts of Metro Manila. Next point being is that new bridges are being built, which makes the cities outside of Metro Manila more accessible, even being far from the center of the metro. And then last point is on rural road convergence, where roads are being built in the rural areas. This means that the travel to these rural areas are more efficient, making out of town weekends just a fast drive. So as you may know, there are nearby cities. I'm not sure if everyone knows, actually, there are nearby cities or provinces in the metro right now that's just 1 to 2 hour drive away and give you access to the beaches. And the aim in the next 5 to 10 years is to improve the accessibility of these provinces and make sure it's more efficient for the travelers to go into their provinces. Next is the Department of Transportation. So one of the key things that the Department of Transportation is doing will be to build the three major airports in the country. And these three major airports will be located just right outside of Metro Manila, which is an hour and a half. That's the maximum drive away from Metro. Next is to renovate and expand the current 5 airports in the Metro. And I'm sure everyone here have heard already about this, that NAIA in the Philippines is not as good as other airports outside the world. Hence, our government would want to improve this, making sure that the airport will be decongested and will be able to serve additional passengers and cater to new international routes. And then next point is improvement of the ferry system. Similar to Bangkok, I'm sure some of you guys know, several cities inside the metro is cut across by a river. And the Department of Transportation aims to make use of this river by improving the current ports and adding ferries to accommodate commuters and use the river itself to commute across the metro. And then lastly is building approximately 1,200 kilometers of railways from current 76 kilometers. Just to give you a view, in Metro Manila, there are three major railways, three MRT lines that is within the metro, and the aim is to have around 9 additional railways, including a subway that aims to connect the northernmost part of Metro Manila to the south, including a connection within the airport itself. So next point is the Department of Energy. So the first goal is to shift to using renewable energy sources from current 10% to 35% of the total energy demand of the entire Philippines. So just to clarify, Philippines is using only using 10% of renewable sources. And we wanted to shift our usage to 35%, i.e. use renewable energy to up to 35%. And the next is that this agency also aims to ensure that 10% of the vehicles in the Philippines will shift to using electric vehicles, which is actually the trend right now across other countries as well. And then lastly is to spend more on informations and communications technology and develop a more climate-proof and energy-efficient infrastructure. So that just means that our government is really serious in making sure that our real estate or our infrastructure in the Philippines would be more energy efficient. Now, these three agencies ultimately aim to improve the quality of living in the Philippines, especially in the metropolitan areas and the emerging cities outside of the metro, which then would lead to an increase in demand for living spaces. Now, coming in to the third macroeconomic point as to why it's good to invest in the Philippines, which is the foreign investment inflows. Philippines has been ramping up its initiative to get more and more investment. In fact, as we speak, the Philippines has already secured almost $16 billion worth of investment. And this come from the pledges from foreign countries and investors. And real estate is one of the top 5 industries where these investments would be focused on. More than that, these investments would likely bring job creation, technology transfers, and forex reserves, which means, again, that the Philippine economy would be much stronger in the coming years. Now, all these factors that I've mentioned a while ago, the GDP, the infrastructure development, this investment inflows that coming in. Next question is, how would this positively impact the real estate industry? Which then comes to my last point, the long-term value appreciation. Metro Manila's prime residential market is experiencing an exponential rise for the past year. It has been the world leader in property value appreciation, which boasts an impressive 21.2% increase. Again, that's 21.2 increase in its prime residential property pricing inside the metro. That is just 1 year worth of growth. And the increase in property value is not just within the Metro Manila. Emerging cities outside of the metro or across the country have gone up to 12.9%. And that is across all types of categories in the real estate market and across the entire Philippines. Again, if we're looking at the Philippines as a whole, in Q3 of 2023, it grew by 12.9%. And if we are to focus in Metro Manila, specifically the prime residential housing, it grew by 21.2%. Any questions, any clarifications there so far? Come again?
On the airports, how long will it be before they're finished with the renovations and the building of the new ones?
Right. The renovation is aimed to be completed within the next 5 years. And the building of new airport would be roughly around 5 to 10 years as well. But as we speak right now, the contract to renovate the current NAIA has been awarded to a specific contractor already.
And that's the major international airport for Manila, right?
Yes, that's the current.
Currently, the airport is still functioning perfectly with international flights.
Right.
They want
It's
to
just they're
upgrade
just
the
updating it,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct. Yes.
You're trying to keep up with Dubai.
I have a question. Is
Yeah.
Right.
indicating percent increase in appreciation in real estate value.
Correct.
So the people who are investing in real estate in the Philippines, are they mostly Filipinos or are they foreigners?
Very good
And is the income commensurate? Is the income of the buying population commensurate with the growth of real estate?
So it's actually a good mix of
Have a good day.
investors from the domestic buyers and foreign buyers. In fact, we have seen growth of investors buying from the United States, mainly because of the relationship of our government and the government also of the US. In fact, our president have been in the US for more than 3 times already, if I'm not mistaken, which is mainly the factor on this one, building relationship. Now, in terms of the purchasing power of the domestic people, if commensurate to the property prices, I would say relatively yes, because there is actually a wide range of properties in the Philippines. So we have various category. We have the affordable market, which is roughly priced at around 2.5 million pesos. Let me just compute that in dollars. That is roughly around 45,000 dollar. And we have the upper tier market, which would cost you around 200 to 250,000 dollars as an
US dollars.
introductory price. Correct.
And we own land in the Philippines?
The question was, can we own land in the Philippines as Americans? Sorry.
Yeah, the general rule is actually no, landed properties may not be bought by a foreigner, but there are actually workaround on that one. I.e., if you have if you are married to a Filipino citizen, then that's possible. But there are also landed properties that is actually corporatized. And if that is the case, foreigners are allowed 40% of that inventory to be bought by them.
Yeah, I don't know if my wife's gonna allow me to marry a Filipino or not, so.
Talk to her. If it's a good enough deal, she'll probably go with it.
So we can buy more, huh?
Thank you. Sorry, Jorge, they have a very dry sense of humor here. But what he is saying is for condos, for those, you can own them 100% as a foreign national, just like Thailand, just like other countries. To own the actual physical land, as he said, you have to have like, and even, other places, you have to have a local that's ownership, or you can create a foreign corporation or a local corporation and a foreign owner owns that. There are ways, like he said, to not circumvent, I don't like that word, work around the issue. Okay.
Right.
Go ahead, George.
Yep.
I have a question.
Yes, who's that online? Jessica, our Mexican owner. Yes.
Are you guys seeing kind of the growth in the rental market as well with the appreciation in prices?
Yep. The rental market is actually, the rental yield right now in the Philippines is roughly at around 5%. It may
Okay.
not be as exponential, but we're seeing that in the next coming years, the occupancy rate would be low, hence the rental yield will be improving. The reason why I mentioned that the occupancy rate or vacancy rate in the Philippines or in Metro Manila in general would be much lower in the coming years is because the Philippines is really a good business hub or a good outsourcing place for foreign companies. And so there are a lot of talents being outsourced in the Philippines, hence creating more jobs and making the central business district more busy and more occupied by a lot of people, which then creates a demand in living spaces within that area as well.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, George. What is the vacancy rate, as you would call it, or occupancy rate for your residential properties in the CBD?
Yes, the occupancy rate right now for inside the CBD is roughly at around 12 to 15%.
12 to 15?
No, you're
Yes.
talking about vacancy rate.
Vacancy rate, yes.
Vacancy rate, yes.
Vacancy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's vacancy rate, not occupancy rate. Vacancy rate, 12 to 15.
And also that you were bringing up that it has a lower ROI for the monthly rent because the rents are just going up now, which is a good time to get in. But it has good appreciation, so that's where you're getting a lot of your ROI is on the appreciation on the properties.
Correct.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
Yep. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yes.
And later, George will be sharing about like the upfront cost to own a property is really low. That's why it makes it a good investment opportunity.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait till he gets to that part, but I'm trying to hold back.
So yeah, now the next question is actually how would these positive macroeconomic factors benefit us, and how we can leverage on this good real estate market trends. So I guess this is where the most exciting and talked about part comes in, the property flipping. And let me introduce to you on what property flipping is. Property flipping is actually very similar to stocks, but this time there is a very, very remote chance of losing what you have invested. It's like, again, buying low, selling high. But the main difference is that these investment or the property that you've bought will increase in value and the return is guaranteed. There are several forms of property flipping. One can be buying a repossessed property from the bank, improving it, and then selling it at a higher price. But for this webinar, we'll talk specifically about property flipping of pre-selling condominiums in the Philippines. And here are the reasons why we wanted to focus on it. One is that there are many emerging projects made by reputable developers. Excuse me. And right now, we are partnered with over 200 developers in the country, which gives us access to over 1,000 projects across the entire nation. Number two is that the pre-selling condos normally offer a very favorable prices with a bigger discount during launch phase. And because of this, inventory are always likely to get sold out easily. And just to give you a view on what these favorable prices or discounts are, during the launch phase, normally developers would give out 5 to even as high as 10% discount in that launch phase. Next point is lenient payment schemes. So I think this is unique in the Philippines, where developers usually would require 20% down payment, which is spread out for up to 55 months with a zero interest. So again, the 20% down payment spread out in that pre-selling period, in the development period of the property without interest. And after,
Sorry.
go ahead, Jessica.
For the launch phase, how long from the launch phase until closing?
When you say closing, that means turnover or completion of the property, right?
Yes.
On average, it would be around 36 months.
Okay,
It
thank
can
you.
go as long as 55 months.
Okay.
Okay. And then after 55 months, going back to my point, after 55 months, the remaining 80% must be paid either in full or through financing. Next point
George,
is,
I want you to stop here for a second, because this is something that doesn't normally, as you said, they do this uniquely in the Philippines. What he's saying is that even though the property, Jessica, is done in 36 months, you don't have to come up with the 80% at that time when it's done.
correct.
That you can still pay the minimum of the 20% spread out over 55 months.
Correct.
But they hand the property over to you and you can use it. You can move
Oh,
into it, you can get it out. Now, yeah, see, that's what I was saying, George. They don't get that when that's like when my light bulb blew up over my head. So go ahead and go a little more in detail on that, George, for them.
Yep. Actually, to your last point, this is the last point also as well, that unique also to the Philippines, where a pre-selling condominium, once fully built, despite not being fully paid yet, or you're just within that 20% spread out period, it may be occupied already.
You may not, you may use it.
You may use it. You may use it.
You can move in,
can
rent it out,
basically
utilize it.
Yes. You can move in, you can rent it out as long as it has been completed and a certain percentage, usually at least 10% of the property has been paid, then they would allow you to move in already.
Right, so you have to put down of the 20% you had over the 36 months or 24 months, whatever it took to get down, you have to get at least 10% of the down payment in.
Correct.
So not 20%, 10% of the whole thing, the 10% of the down payment.
So is the
Sorry,
remainder-
that's 10% of the total contract
Yeah.
price.
remainder
Michael.
balance. Let's say it's $100,000
Right.
property. You put down $20,000.
Right, you don't have to put down 20,000, they're gonna finance that 20.
For 55 months.
Correct.
What happens after the 55 month? The
Yeah, that-
remainder 80,000 is due all in cash,
Correct, cash or finance.
cash or finance.
Right.
Right.
Is finance in the Philippines
Yeah,
similar to mortgage financing in the US?
No one is similar to mortgage financing in the US because it's the best in the world, but it's close. We also have the Filipino bank here, and they can do financing here. I'll let them get into it more. But George was going to correct me on something, so I do want to get the correction. Go ahead, George. What did I
Yeah.
say correctly?
The 10% actually is not a 10% of the 20%, it's 10% of the contract price. So it
Yeah.
is actually the 10% of the total value of the property. As long as you've
Correct.
paid that to 10% of it, you can move in. Normally, that's the case. They would allow you
Right.
to.
It was wrong the way I said it, but it was right. Go ahead, sir.
So if I understand correctly, you put 10% down, is any burden falls on that 80% until you take title on it? And if being brought for 36 to 55 months, how would you take occupancy of being strong?
No, it'd be done. They're saying normally it takes up to 36 months to get it built. They normally don't go the 55 months unless we have something that extraordinary happens that, they got delayed where they got a
So you
lockdown.
have no burden falls on the 80% monthly payment.
Correct.
Period of time, till you take title on it.
Correct. Now when you take, that's the whole trick here. It's not about occupancy. It's when you're done with the 55 months and that's when you have to put down the 80%. So meaning you can use the property, go live in it, do whatever you want during the time when it's done to that 55 months. So that just gives you able to make extra ROI on your investment, and then you can sell the property before it closes. It's a contract. You can do a contract sale and sell the property and keep that's where you get your returns.
So some of this kind of nebulous financing. I have a home county act.
Okay.
Village, we go back and forth
Yeah.
twice a year, so this. The question, is there a program like Australia secondary market for the Philippines, or is the Philippine National Bank to know it's an object and not know the financing is possibly available? Doesn't seem like,
As I understand it, correct me, George, most of the financing that we're talking about for foreign nationals is done by the Philippine banks, right? There's not a secondary market, it's a primary market. I know what you're talking about in Australia, yeah, and New Zealand, yeah. But they don't, that's not there, but they have representation of the Filipino banks here in the United States, and LA is for sure. And I think throughout the United States, they have branches.
So
Yep.
there's some.
That's actually correct. We have banks, PNB, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead, Elmer, if you can share.
Hi, everyone. I'm Albert. I'm one of the project specialists here in the Philippines. Since we're talking about financing, usually here in the Philippines, for foreigners, there are a limited number of banks that allow for financing for foreign investor. Usually that's the Philippine National Bank, which is also have branches overseas. Another option is foreigner can also tend to pay by in-house financing as well. So this is actually good if the payments go direct to the developer itself. So that's the two options for financing, or you can have it in cash, wherein they're giving a much higher in terms of the discount.
Okay, George, someone has a question here. Go ahead, sir.
Do you get title insurance with your purchase?
Very good question.
you get title.
Well, do they even know what title insurance is? Because it's not America. That's something like in Mexico, it's very hard to get title insurance on certain properties.
Some of the risk associated when invested in new market economies like
Yep.
the Philippines. There's double selling,
Correct.
sometimes there's fraudulent selling.
Right.
What is it that can assure someone, paying X amount of dollars, I'm assured that this unit
Is mine.
is mine?
Yeah. George?
I have to ask Elmer's help on that one.
Okay.
Right, when we, my home first entered the Philippines market, that was one of the key concern as well. Right, in Singapore, we're very focused on the resale market, but in the Philippines, we are intentionally doing only new launches direct from the property developers. So when
So the
we are
property
buying directly
developers
from
have been
developers, we have no worries. It's 100% secure that is you are getting the unit.
So, but they don't have title assurance in the Philippines like we have in the United States, correct?
We don't do insurance here. In Singapore, we don't have it too, because like once you sign the contract, you actually really own the property.
Well, we do here too, but then there's always something that comes up and is thing. But I do understand what they're saying because I know the Singapore market. So it's very similar to Singapore. The government
Yes.
does not allow contractors to make developments and sell. They have to get their permits and everything. So everything has been checked out to make sure the land is that they're building on allowed to be built on and they own it. Am I correct?
Yes, and the other thing about the Philippines, why is this market so unique that you are able to move into a unit when you've only paid 20%? That is a strength of the developers in the Philippines. So these property developers are massive conglomerates. Basically, you know, you have the top 10 families or top 20 families owning 50% of the whole country. So they own the real estate, they own the mall, the banks. So it's by their own bank that's financing. Their banks is the one that's going to give you the mortgage. And that's why there's no worries for them. Like you can't go buy a day in the Philippines without enriching them. So they own everything in the Philippines and even the highways. That is why they have this scale and that bank to support this kind of financing schemes. So like in Singapore, it doesn't exist because developers, they need to get all this cash and then build the next thing. But in the Philippines, they can hold on to it. They can build the entire city just with a few developers. And this scale is not seen in the Singapore.
We have another question. Yes, sir.
What processes do you have for vetting those developers and the property rights?
Right.
Since you already have limited property rights as an American.
Correct.
Yeah.
Elmer, can you answer this question on the how do you ensure that we have the property rights?
I'll tell you in a second. She's changing it, handing it over to her all the time. Go ahead and explain the vetting.
All right, okay, for in terms of property ownership, it's actually the same with the your local counterparts here in the Philippines. The government or the developer itself usually give deed of absolute sale and certificate of title, wherein that's a guarantee itself that you already own the unit. Even in the pre-selling stage or only on the reservation, upon payment of usually reservation plus a couple of down payment. Usually it's a first to second down payment. They already give you the next the contract to sell already, which it reflects already your the name of the owner and also the condition of the ownership. So yes, even at that stage on the down payment, you can guarantee that the property is already under your name.
Did you hear that? Not really. I don't. So
Not
here's,
much.
yeah, sorry on your mic, you're kind of fading out. It's hard to hear you. But what he's saying is that the developers have, when you put your deposit down, you're doing that, you have your due diligence time to check out the developers. But when you're going forward with the purchase, is that you are part of the title of the property. So your money is safe with being with that developer because the government has approved this development to be built. So they have validated that the developer is worthy of finishing the project and doing the thing. And that you have put down, like we do with the US, you're put on the title at the time it's being constructed, your unit. Am I correct in what you said?
Yes, that's correct, sir. And another thing is we only partner with reputable developers, wherein they do have a track record of ensuring the ownership to their clients.
So the developers are not brand new developers. These are developers that have track records with putting other developments up in the Manila metro area.
But to piggyback on this.
Yeah. Understood.
Comment is there's no title insurance.
No, there isn't.
for us.
Correct. Well,
So we put money out there to a company that doesn't have a great vetting process.
Just marry a Filipino.
Yeah, married Philippine. I get
no,
that.
but I'm just saying, in the sense you're saying that they do have a vetting process. Their vetting process is the government, vets and gives the permits out and stuff like that. But again, title insurance is something unique to the United States. If you're investing overseas, a lot of countries do not have, I don't know very many countries that do truly have title insurance. Mexico does, but it's very limited on certain areas, not of the whole country. So Dubai, there's no title insurance. You don't need to. The Dubai government guarantees everything that goes on in their country, but they have as long time established proof of that. I haven't, and I may be wrong, I haven't heard of very many scams, that type of thing that I've heard in other countries. You know, I'd be careful in certain other countries. I don't want to be rude and label someone that happens to be here from that country, to be more careful versus, you know, again, with the Philippines, but that's your own due diligence, if you're wanting to invest and do this.
I don't know if residency is an appealing part of this.
Uh-huh.
Is there a certain number of money if you invest? You have some sort of
Like a
legal
golden visa
residency?
or something like that they call. I don't remember if I asked that question before, George. Is there a path to residency by owning in the Philippines?
Can you help Elmer?
So
on that one?
actually, in terms of residency, there's for Condo itself, even for foreigners, there are no required residency in terms of owning a property. So it's actually
So they're asking if someone were to buy, a foreigner were to buy a property, do you get a path to residency? Like, is
Mm.
there a visa for them
I
to stay
not.
there?
I don't think there is that I can remember. It's like similar to Spain, right? Where if you invest in a property there, you'd get the path to get your residency. It's not available in the Philippines right now, but we can double check if what are the benefits in terms of like in the government context on a foreigner owning our residency or residence in the Philippines or property in the Philippines.
But I mean, people do. I mean, a lot of Americans reside there, a lot of expats. So I'm assuming there is a fairly easy path to get residency in the Philippines.
Right.
I would say that it is quite easy. I mean, like to live in the US, to live in Singapore permanently is very difficult. But in the Philippines, it is pretty simple. We'll get that information and send it over to you.
Appreciate it. Well, and I'll send it out to all of you. But probably what it is like I said, it's not a benefit, meaning it doesn't speed it up like it does, like you said, in Spain or
Right.
Portugal
Right.
or Greece. You know, that way, and that gives you EU. That gives you can buy in the
Right.
in Greece and go live in
Right.
you know, Paris. Because it's very hard to get French, and I know I have someone here that's French that's going to give me crap for saying that, but
I think it's
Uh,
especially easy
right.
for Americans because there's a treaty between America and the Philippines. And we do have a lot of Americans there who are buying properties from us in the Philippines, and they're living there. They have
Yeah.
an Air Force base there in the Philippines.
we still don't. Didn't we close Clark?
Yeah.
There's like an American
Oh, okay.
town.
I always knew about Clark. That's what I went into when I was in the
Temporary
Philippines.
basis.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's what it is. Thank you. I'm ex-military and don't even know, so sorry. Go ahead, George. I'm sorry we cut you off there. Let you go ahead and continue your presentation.
All right. Okay. So let me give you an illustration of these property flipping scenario. So this one, again, the figures and the growth rate here are just shown for illustration purposes. So these are just made up numbers. But again, these numbers are actually made or based on the data that I've presented also. So for example, there is a property being sold at $75,000. And normally this is the payment terms for a property, for a pre-selling property. The down payment is 20% with a term of 55 months. So it's spread out to 55 months, and reservation fee is normally at around $400 only. The question is, how much will you pay on a monthly basis in the next 55 months? So just a sample computation, your 75,000, the 20% of your 75,000 is 15,000. And that 15,000 will be subtracted with a reservation fee of 400, which leaves you with 14,600. So that 14,600 will be spread out to 55 months. Hence, you will pay only $265.5 on a monthly basis in the next 55 months. Assuming that in the Philippines, the property value grows 15% year on year, after 3 years, your property would then be valued at around 97,500 already. So when the property is flipped or sold after 3 years, the total cash injected is roughly at $10,000 only. With a capital appreciation of $22,500, your ROI in 3 years would roughly be at around 225%. That's just in 3 years. So as you can see, the potential of the property value growth in the Philippines is really promising, that in just 1 year last year, in fact, it grew by 21.2%. So just imagine if you've bought a property in the Philippines, invested a property in the Philippines last year, if it's a luxury or prime real estate, then it would grow 21.2%. And if you just sell it afterwards, then you get 20% already increase. So that's how promising the properties are in the Philippines. So this is actually the good example of how property is flipped, or in that investment strategy of property flipping. Any questions here, clarifications here so far?
But there is tax implications.
Yeah, tax implication.
They're asking about when say after 3 years they sold it, what is the Filipino tax implication?
Right. So normally, during pre-selling stage, the fees that you'll be paying is just the transfer of fees, because it is not fully turned over to you yet. You're not the full owner of the property. So a 50,000 normally, that's on average, that's how much it costs. 50,000 peso transfer fees will only be the charges you'll be paying. So 50,000, let me compute quickly. That is roughly at around $900 fee. But if you fully own the property already, meaning you already have the title of ownership, that's when the 6% capital gains tax would come in. But again, in
So
this
it doesn't
case,
apply until after you pay down your 80%.
correct. That's right. So as long as it's in the pre-selling stage, and the financing hasn't kicked in yet, or you haven't fully paid the property, you'd only be paying 50,000 peso, or roughly $900 of transfer fees.
George, is there a stamp tax of 1.5%?
There is actually, but that is also in the case where you already have fully paid the property. And normally, who pays that is the buyer already. But from the point of view of seller, it's just the transfer fees.
There's capital gains on the US side.
Yes, there is.
But you're paying Filipino capital gains.
Well, you're paying 950,000 pesos. You won't be paying the capital gains because you don't fully own it. Now, if you own it, say you finished it and you kept it for a couple of years and then you sold it, yes, you'd be paying the 6% Filipino capital gains, and you would be paying the US capital gains. If you bring the money back into the United States, if you do a foreign 1031 exchange and keep the money outside the country and just buy another property, you can avoid the US capital gains. But if you bring the money back into the country, yes, you're going to be paying the US capital gains.
Are there any other
Sorry?
are there any other selling costs? I mean, like commissions, I mean, like we'd have in the US once the property is fully owned?
There are none actually. It's just the capital gains tax and probably the commission fees you'd pay to your agent if you would list it under listing company.
So it would be commissions. And how about that when we're selling it before it's finished? I know Your Home usually handles the transaction because we trust you. How much does that normally run for our clients, if one of our clients decide to buy?
Our commission fees, he's asking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Selling commission fees. Claire, can you help answer that?
Okay.
Good morning. So the commission fees or the service fee that Oh My Home is asking for is roughly around 5% of the selling price of the unit. That includes already the marketing of the unit, the assistance in terms of the transfer of the unit to the new owner. So that's 5%.
Okay. Is that doesn't include though that 50,000 pesos? Did I say it right?
Not yet. Correct.
Right. So that's on top of that $900. Or not yet. Okay.
You can also provide the full breakdown, right, of the cost involved and send it over.
Sure. Just to give you an example, this is really a real example of how the property grew. So this is an example of a property or a project from Ortigas Land, a developer, and their project is named Olin. So this is their entry-level project, which is priced at, this is a studio unit, 21 square meter studio unit priced at around 6.8 million in peso. That is 123,000. Again, this is an upscale developer, and this project is an entry-level project pricing at around 123.7 thousand dollars. That was priced in 2023 of April. 10 months after, the property already grew by 10%. So just imagine, this is an entry-level project, and in just 10 months grew already by 10.25%. And this has not been completed just yet. This is still under pre-selling phase or construction phase, and expected to be completed at around 2028. So that's how promising properties are in the Philippines. Any comments here so far, questions?
I do want to tell you, they have a variety of properties. Are you going to get into that a little bit, George, about anywhere from, like you said, the 75,000 up to 600,000, 800,000, depending on what level properties that you are interested in, and doing, and the same process applies to all of them. Though when I was talking to them before, they're saying the middle, 300,000 and less is the better market versus, or you can buy more of them so you spread your appreciation out more and have a better return versus, one property that's $800,000.
Right.
Yeah,
We showed
correct me
you.
if I'm wrong, George, because I trust you more than I trust myself in this aspect.
Yep, there are various properties actually that we will be showing you later on, but we'll focus on one property to share with you in-depth details about it. So just to move on, before we walk you through on the properties, and that is through the myELITE platform. Let me introduce first to you what is myELITE. So again, myELITE.pro is an easy and intuitive platform that gives you access to a wide range of properties from our 200 accredited developers nationwide. And as I've mentioned a while ago, we have access to over 1,000 project information, which translates to over 80,000 units available. And again, that is across across the entire nation rather, and across various types or categories of properties, from affordable to mid-tier to luxury type of properties. Next is that this platform would also offer you varied property types from house and lot, condominiums, and lots all over the Philippines. We also offer a good concierge support where we attend to your questions and to the questions of your clients if there is. And then lastly is that for agents or sellers like everyone else, like all of us here, we offer competitive incentive system through our referral incentive program, where we give transparent and reliable incentive system for direct sales and referrals. Now, let me invite you to our myELITE Pro. If you can scan this, or if you can go to this website that I am sending over the group chat. It's myELITE.pro basically. So this is our landing page, and as soon as you land on the page, you would already see some of the projects that we are partnered with, or we are accredited with rather, from various property developers in the country. And then just pass through it. Down below, you would see the benefits, which I've mentioned already a while ago, plus the features of this platform. So we can log in if you've already accessed it. Just click on login, continue with your Google account. I'm using my own personal account. And this is where you would land in the homepage. The homepage would include a curated list of properties based on specific categories. And right now, we have here a curated list for projects suited for property flipping. And we have specifically selected this one to be placed under property flipping properties. And right now we have 5 properties so far, but of course, this can be expanded. And as you can see, almost all of them under this project, under this category is already selling fast. If I'm not mistaken, at around more than 50% of the units for this property have been sold already. In fact, if we go into Park East Place just launched early this year, if I'm not mistaken, or late last year rather, at Q4 last year, right? Correct? Q4 last year. It is situated in BGC, which is the newest central district in the Philippines. If you're familiar with BGC, or if I can give you a view of BGC, it's like a piece of Singapore in the Philippines. So if you're inside that central business district, it wouldn't feel like you are in the Philippines. It feels like you're in another country. And this specific condominium is located in the center of that central business district. And again, this was launched Q4 of last year. And right now, it is already almost sold out. And to tell you honestly, the property has not been the construction has started, but if you go to the construction site, you would see excavation. So it's still under construction, but despite of it being that, it is still almost sold out. And the pricing of the property starts already at 23.2 million. Just going back on the home page or landing page. So these are the specific categories. And if ever you have clients or you have potential buyers who are actually looking for, again, a property good for flipping, and you wanted to show it to your potential buyers, it's easy as few clicks in this platform. So there is a share button here where you can click on it, and then there's a link that you can copy, and that link may be sent to your potential buyer. I'll send it over the group chat also.
I just want to point out, because a lot of people in this room are not real estate agents. So they will be able to get access using that to see these properties if they're interested in purchasing, correct?
Correct. Yes. Normally this platform is for agents. This one exactly for agents, for brokers, but referral partners who are not licensed may also use this property and sell properties to their potential buyers using Oh My Home's license.
But you know what? Because on Oh My Home, we actually have all these properties as well. So basically, yeah, all the Oh My Home links can be shared to our customers here. And then more importantly, I think it's not really, how to use the platform. It's on like showing you like the different properties that will be good for investments. So in the Philippines, we have a huge range of properties that ranges from $100,000 to like $400,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment. So it depends on like, which range you want to invest in. For me personally, I've invested in one that is around $400,000. So that is in like really prime area in the Philippines. But similarly, you can do the same model there because the payment structure is just as friendly because they are such huge developers in the Philippines. So George is basically showing us a demo of our myELITE platform, which enables, let's say if there are agents there in the room, it's easy for you to share this information with your clients, where, you don't have to create like a PowerPoint presentation. You simply have to just add it to your a playlist and then send this link to your clients there. And then let's say if there are clients there in the room, and you can just let us know like your appetite, what kind of budget you would like to first try out to invest in the Philippines. We can create a list for you. So that list will enable you to enter a page like that. And then George, you can take us through how it looks like when it's in the page.
Right. So, the first example of it, you can share the link to your potential buyer, and this is how the link would gonna look like. Once they access it, they would land on this page where they would see your profile here as a referral partner and your name, and the list specific projects that you made or that you've shortlisted for them. And in this page itself, they can click on it and see the details of the property. So you can see here the photos of the property, the description as well, the available unit types, the pricing, again, everything. And this is the map where it's located. And as what Miss Reyes have mentioned, where she invested in a property, it's actually located somewhere here, the property that she invested, and this property is just right in front of it. So just imagine the demand of luxury or high-end property within this area. It's almost sold out. And in this page itself, potential buyer may send inquiry already and fill out this form. Such inquiry will be sent both to you as the owner of this page and to Oh My Home or to our internal myELITE sales team. And you do not need to worry about answering that inquiry yourself because our myELITE team can do or can handle the questions and answer for your clients. That's sorry.
You asked about what's the HOA fee on a property like that?
Sorry, what was that again?
Yeah. Homeowners Association, sorry.
Oh, okay. So it varies actually depending on the developer. So there are property management, it's called for condos, it's property management offices where the cost, if you're asking for the cost, it would normally be around 100 or yeah, let's say on average, that's the average already, 100 pesos per square meter. So that is roughly $2 per square meters. That's how much the dues are.
We have a question. Hold on a second, George. Go ahead.
Go.
Some of married with the Philippines, my wife's a good citizen and so on, properties there.
Yeah.
My question is, if we anticipate a 20% gain in year value, which is fair, that's 60% a year. I don't know if the real weightage in the end is Philippines are going to go anywhere near that rate for a future buyer to buy at a later date. And if you have that much gain, you're probably going to have inflation. You may have to adjust higher interest rates. So the new buyer coming in 3 or 4 years now, buying more expensive property, his wages haven't kept up, and he may for that higher interest rate, just like we're going through right now.
Right, but here in the United States, it's a little different over there. One, they have a very large shortage of units, meaning that they didn't build to compensate the movement to the city that's had.
There's a labor pool such that they can acquire. Finds are talking about these 50 units or more in space.
Say that one more time, sorry.
And they actually afford the higher prices.
Right. I mean, it's going to be the same thing as here's labor pool, is that it's a mixed thing. Yes, some will be priced out, others people will be priced in because of the higher technology is going there, the higher jobs, foreigners are moving there. They're the ones that are buying the units to live there.
Benefits to the developer, which it should, because often a 5 or 10% discount and a fix and flip. Our discounts are normally a little off market than that here in the United States.
Yeah.
So everything is slanted toward the future expectation of growth and income.
Mhm.
And what we've seen here, where it's gone from 2.5%, 3% to 7%.
Right.
And the buyers are decimating because they can't go from the 400,000 to 750,000 price in the last 3 years.
Right.
Is that a problem?
I mean, it's always, I don't want to put them in a situation because they can't guarantee or say. I mean, that's the way the market is and how things happen. So meaning here, I remember when the interest rates used to be 17% and they went down to, I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime, 3% or less.
Yes.
So my saying is no one has a crystal ball, no one can guarantee anything. They're showing that there is growth, there is the government's investing into infrastructure, which is always the most important part of continuous growth. And yes, there could be inflation, there probably is inflation, but it is relative to the situation that's going on. You had a question, sir.
So this company, Own My Home,
Yes,
do they do only real estate sales or do they also have a management?
they do have a management division.
So if you decided to buy and hold,
Yes,
they can place.
They do.
people within the property.
yes.
And how is the rental market there for any?
Well,
any
well, that's why
type of property?
I talked about, and that was the beginning, but you were here. I'm surprised you
Yeah,
were,
no, I
were
was
you
here.
thinking in French? Now the rental, it runs around as the average is about 5%. I'm gonna say, because I'm conservative, 3 to 5% ROI net. Okay, after all expenses are paid, is what their return on their normal rental market here. Same as here in the United States. We run between a 3 and 5% return on our thing. So it's a relatively the same type of return. The rents are not as high down there because of what you just said, is because the income cannot afford to pay the higher rents. And again, that's a normal open market. It adjusts to the thing. They do have a demand though. There's a shortage of housing. That's why they're building there so much. And they don't see they're getting to the break even, if you want to say, of the demand for quite a few years, because they're 6 million units short. And that's why the developers are building and spending the money to expand there and put these units up.
So what are the fees for property management if you hold the property?
I will turn that back over to them, since now on the table is, what are your management fees if they decided to rent it out and they would use Oh My Home?
Yes, so yeah, if you intend to, like, instead of flipping, you intend to lease out the property, or you have it, yourself, taxes that includes you pay annually, is part of it is the real property tax, which is directly paid to the government. So depending on the municipality where your property is located, the percentage would range from about 5% to 10% annually. So that's basically the one of the taxes. And for the fees for the condos itself, it includes the fire insurance and also the homeowners association dues, which ranges from 100 pesos to 200, roughly around that's $2 per square meter. So yeah, so that's part of the condo fees that
Right. What about
includes in the
management fees
owning the
for rent?
property.
What about
For
the
the management fee for the rental, so it's around, for an annual rental rate, Oh My Home gets the service fee of 1 month. So say for example, you are renting your unit for around $400 per month. That would be for 12 months. Oh My Home gets a month equivalent to the rentals.
Okay, just
So that includes already finding the tenant for the unit.
right, but saying that you would charge 1 month's rent for renting it per year, or is there
That's correct.
as well?
Yep.
That's good.
The fees we impose is equivalent to 1 month of the rental price. That would already include marketing the property, looking for buyers, and then assisting the buyers in the
Tenant.
tenant rather. Assisting the tenant, looking for the tenant, assisting the tenant during the site tour, documents necessary to prepare will also be assisted by Oh My Home. That is already included in that fees that we.
But usually the rental goes straight to your bank account. So we don't hold the rental on your behalf.
They don't hold the rent in your behalf, but they will handle the management of it. It's kind of like custodial here.
And it's
Yeah.
still the same price, that 1 month fee?
Yes, 1 month fee per year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have one question, because I am a property manager just like Jessica is. So I know Jessica's like saying, I'm not going to do property management in the Philippines. But what happens if a tenant doesn't pay their rent in the Philippines?
Yeah. So normally this is in cases like this, there is a contract that has to be signed, and mostly the contract or the tenant is required to give post-dated checks. So that's how normally it goes. I mean, that's how normally it's done here. Now, if ever that post-dated check does not have any funds inside of it, that's when you can go to the court or to the bank and flag the tenant. And that tenant already has, or that account holder who issued that bounce check already have a record in the bank, which then would likely affect all the credit history or credit standing of that person. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that the PDC ensures the landlord of the monthly amortization because having a PDC is already regulated by the law, ensuring that there is funds in the PDC, something like that.
George, can you kick the tenant out if they don't pay?
Yes, normally in the contract as well, we put that in. And just to share also, in the beginning of the contract, the tenant is required to pay 1 month advance and 2 months deposit. So roughly equivalent to 3 months of the rental contract. If in case the tenant defaults for 1 month, well, then you can use the deposit, the first 1 month deposit. If it defaults again in the next month, you can use that second deposit, and then you can kick
So
out.
by the 1.5 months, you can start to kick him out.
Yes, correct.
So it's very different from the US and UK where they can't kick people out. And in Asia, we kick people out if they don't pay. It doesn't
So
matter.
Jessica, that's why we want to do property management. It's like Las Vegas, you know, in the old days when we used to be able to get them out in 2 weeks. But
So
Yeah.
if they don't pay, because you said that it goes to our bank account, if for some reason they don't pay, we reach out to you and you handle that for us?
Yeah,
Yes.
we have to go to the bank for you.
Okay.
So basically, they're supposed to give us 12 checks post-dated for every single month's payment.
Right.
Okay.
Mm.
And then you deposit it to our bank account?
Yeah.
So you don't hold the security deposit either?
Sorry?
sorry,
You
what?
not hold, as a property management company, you don't hold the security deposits. Everything goes to the owner of the unit.
Correct.
Yes, that's
At
right.
Own My Home, we
They don't
don't
wanna
do
touch
any escrow accounts for you. The deposits, everything goes to you as the homeowner.
So if we were to buy an investment property, we want to flip it.
It's actually 20%.
We tell you, hey, now we want to flip it here, we made a 10% gain or whatever.
But it's.
How long is it usually on the market before
Turn
you
over.
find a buyer
Yeah,
for us?
it doesn't.
How long does it usually take to look for a buyer?
There's
Is
some side chatter by the speaker. We can't hear the question.
Sorry, that's my
Already
fault.
on time?
Yes, go ahead, Roy, because I didn't hear it.
Okay. If we buy an investment property and hold on to it for 10 months or a year, whatever, make 10%, we're happy, now we want to flip it.
Mhm.
How long usually is it on the market before you find a buyer for us?
If they have bought the property, and then how long does it take to flip it, right? So it also
Right.
depends on which property that we choose for you. You know, if you're unfamiliar with the property market in the Philippines, then it will be all dependent on which properties we choose for you. So usually, later we're going to go through like a property that we really like. It will be not a huge development. You know, the problem with a huge development with like 1,000 units is you have to wait for the developer to finish selling all of them in order for us to flip, right? So we usually choose properties that is like just one tower. Then that makes it easier to be sold out, and that makes it easier for us to resell. So for those units, then it will just take, you know, maybe in 3 months you can resell it. So I think now, Claire, you're gonna go through the property with us, right?
Yes, boss. Okay.
Hold on, one more question, a follow-up to that question, go ahead.
Do you folks provide a market analysis of the area as well for that price range like we do here? And we, you know, we've been doing it for, I don't want to, you know, be disparaging, but we've been doing this for a while here. The Philippine market seems like it's new and fledgling. Do you provide a market analysis for price ranges?
Well, first of all, do you understand what the market analysis is?
Yes, so definitely we provide market analysis, not just by our own analysts, but also by, you know, banks and other bigger firms that's giving you like the property analysis of the entire market and of like, why do we choose certain areas to invest in?
Right, you also, like you said, they will guide you with telling you what units, and you have to tell them though what your goal is. Are you wanting to hold on to it for the 5 years? Are you talking about, like you said, every year you want to do the flip? Because as she said, they will guide you, I won't say direct you, but help you understand that this is a better purchase, this unit versus that unit for your, what you're trying to achieve. Okay, go ahead. Sorry for that delay.
I'm handing it over to Claire to walk us through one of the projects listed here, which is the Olin at J Drive. So going back to the presentation, let me just open Olin first and give you a view on the pictures of it. So again, this is located in the Central Business District, and Claire will be walking us through on why is this a good property to invest in there.
So one of the featured properties for today is All In at J Drive. So this is located at Ortigas Center, which is basically the heart of Metro Manila. So once you're in Ortigas Center, you get access to different central business districts around the metro. So since this is a prime central business district, it gives you access to Makati, to BGC, and to Quezon City as well. So it's also easily reachable from various residential and commercial areas, namely shopping centers, luxury hotels, different parks, and even leisure establishments as well. So it's in the center, which is really accessible to the public. So it gives you everything that's within your reach. It's also close within the main roads and existing infrastructure projects, which is also based on what George has discussed earlier. So this is also accessible within the reach of educational and well-known establishments and other BPOs or business process outsourcing companies. So this gives you an edge in terms of leasing if you intend to lease the property as well. The residential market overview, it boasts one of the lowest vacancy rates among business districts with only 6.8%. So compared to Makati, that's 14.5%, and Bonifacio Global City, which is around 20.4%, and Bay Area, which is in Pasay, around 26.3%.
Basically, that's an overview about the project, and we would like to
I think, George, we need to, go to the project to look at the pictures and all that. I know all of you are like sharing information with no visuals.
So this is All In Drive, and the picture that you're seeing is the unit, the building facade. Okay, since this is not currently built yet, this is the facade of the amenity area. This is the elevator lobby. And since we also have learned from the pandemic or working from home for other clients, we have built co-working spaces as part of the amenity of the project. So this is the building facade. What's good about this project is that it's a single built building for the Ortigas area, which makes it really good for leasing and for residential as well. So what's good about the property is that there are locals who really rent out. We are not only dwelling on foreign residency, but also there are residents that are renting out the unit, especially working within the area and as well as neighboring cities as well. Because this is relevantly like more affordable prices in terms of rental. So that's the basic reason why the vacancy rate is at just around 6.8% as compared to other neighboring cities as well.
So basically, this area is a little bit like, living in New York City, where there are like huge offices there with thousands of people who work in like higher caliber jobs, because it's like a nice city instead of like a countryside. So this entire building is made out of studio and one-bedroom apartments, which means that it is mainly leased out to employees of these offices. And that's why it makes it a really good investment opportunity. It is just one tower, it is really small, the price is really attractive, and I think it's guaranteed to be all leased out. So when we're choosing a property for you, it really matters to us which we choose for you because we have to be responsible for leasing it out. We have to be responsible to flip the property for you. So for this one, we really like it because of the location, because of how the entire building is structured for young professionals.
And as you can see as you can see in the map, it is actually located again in the Central Business District. So this is where it's located, and it's just right near the big malls. So this is the SM Mega Mall, one of the biggest mall in the Philippines. It is also near Shangri-La. So those who wanted to stay within or near Shangri-La but couldn't afford Shangri-La can stay or can rent out their place, and near big schools as well. So just to give you also a much bigger view of where is it located, let's view it on the map. So this is Olin. This is where it's actually located. Again, this is the big mall here. And this is Shangri-La. If we zoom out a little bit, this property is actually near BGC. So the one that I've shown a while ago, the Park East Place, is located here, which is just roughly 10 to 20-minute drive away from this place. So again, if the accessibility is the question, Olin at J Drive is the most accessible, and highly likely it will be sold easily, meaning flipped easily.
Can you go to the street view? So basically the BGC is like, like right at like Times Square, right? So this is like 10, 15 minutes away, where a lot of the big offices, like for example, Grab is like the Uber of Asia. They moved their head office there. And then we have Shopee, which is like the Amazon of Asia. They also moved their head office from BGC to Ortigas. That's why, right next to this development, you have like the huge corporations that is, maybe you move along the street so they can get a sense of like the area. So it's already all built up. We have like all the Shangri-La, we have offices, we have schools, and then you have like this plot of land that they're building this one tower.
So this is the Central Business District in Ortigas. So as you can see, there are a lot of skyscrapers here, and these are all big offices within or near the place itself. So these are offices of what Ms. Reyes have mentioned. Grab, Shopee also is located here, which is biggest e-commerce. So
Can you like look upwards so that we can see the buildings? I just want to show y'all that, because a lot of times before I visited the Philippines, I had this idea like Philippines feels a little bit like a slum in India kind of thing. But if you look at the offices there, it is like tier 1, beautiful. So this is the area that we're pushing for, where it's right next to the most expensive area. And then, but still it is a business district because Philippines is such a populated country. It is the second BPO city in the whole world where, you have like huge companies with thousands of like high-end workers. So what kind of high-end workers, right? I was just talking to someone who's a business owner in the Philippines. And I said, hey, with AI, won't you think that people might not need all these offices in the Philippines because AI can replace a lot of these jobs? He says, I don't think so. And what do you mean? He's like, I own an accountancy firm that has 1,000 accountants, and we're serving businesses. And these businesses are accountancy firms in Australia, in UK, in the US. So we pay our accountants in the US huge amounts of money, but they outsource to all these accountants in the Philippines. And they are in these offices where they serve all these clients. So this residential building, Olin, is right here in the middle of the CBD area. And how much is per unit, Claire?
For the all-in drive, I open my file. So this one for the studio unit is around $100,000. That's around 25 square meters already. So that one is a studio unit. So to reserve a unit, you could place at around $895.
Oh, so, and then how long do you have to make the next payment?
The next payment would be at around 10%. So that would be around let me just,
$1,000.
yes, boss. Here. So for a studio unit, that's around $895 to reserve. And then after a month, you would place at around $680,000. Then after which you get $11,000 for the monthly payments.
This one.
Yes, can you share your screen, George, so that it would be clear? That one, yes.
I can see it. And then how long? So this is the one, George, can you go back to your calculation so that everyone can see that just now the calculation that George did is based on this property that we are introducing to you.
So this is the sample calculation. Again, after 10 months, it already grew by 10.1.
Present mode, please.
So this is the exact property that we've mentioned. Again, the property developer is focused on building high-end high-end projects. And in their inventory of projects, this is just the entry-level project that they have. So it starts right now, it starts at around 7 point, how much was it? 7 million already, and you would only need to pay again roughly $893
to reserve a unit.
reservation fees. And the next payment would be the following month, which is equivalent to how much?
$398.
$398. Any questions from the team so far?
That $398 going to be reoccurring monthly after that?
What the price per
That's
square
right,
meter?
correct.
That's
It's the
correct.
recurring monthly payment.
At zero interest.
George,
Mm-hmm.
on this unit, how much is it priced per square meter?
Roughly, it is at around, for a 21, like for this example, it's priced at around 6,500 roughly dollars per square meter.
So what $300 per square meter? City price.
Again,
All right, anybody else have any questions?
I'm assuming that $398 a month goes towards the final purchase price at the end, right?
Right.
yes, that forms part of the
20%.
yep.
So on this example I want to use, because since you put this up, George, at what point do you hit the 10% down when you're paying over the months? Would that be by month 24? I'm not very good at math fast on my in my head.
To complete the entire, in this example, the 20% is spread out in 66 months. So if we wanted to hit the 10%, that is roughly on the 33rd month, which is at around December of 2026, which is roughly 2 years from now. So in sample computations actually that we provide to our clients, this is how exactly it's going to look like. You would see the date of the amortization, what month is that in, and the payment, how much the payment for that month is. Again, these are all in peso, but we can revise it into dollars.
And I'm going to bring this up only because you guys brought it up last time and it made me laugh hysterically. You can have the payment charged on your credit card still, correct? To earn miles or whatever. That's so instead of doing it through a bank draft.
Go ahead.
Yes, actually payment could be, especially for foreign buyers, you can pay it by your credit card, either your Visa, mostly Visa or MasterCard.
Okay.
So yeah, you can charge it on your credit card, earn miles, earn points, and that's
They don't charge a fee like for doing it on the credit card. Their developers don't charge a fee for that.
The purchase that way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there do have a couple developers that might charge like 1%.
21,840 is actually just $380 US, and you pay that every single month.
Yeah.
Even until 2027.
But this one's not gonna be built until 2030. Right?
What's the completion date?
Correct. The completion date of the projects for all in is up until 2029.
2029, okay. Okay, so just so I understand, because that's a little. So say for this one, you have the $895 reservation fee.
Yep.
That up front, and then 30 days after that, you pay the $398 a month. And then after what time frame do you have to come up with the remainder of the balance due?
55 months.
So after 55 months, you have to come
7
up
months.
with whatever's left over.
Right, no matter if the project wasn't finished, well, if it isn't finished, you don't have to come up with the money, because again, it's not until the unit's finished. But if it's finished before the 55 months, which it normally is, you still have use of the property, but you haven't paid the full amount yet, so you aren't fully entitled to the property.
Okay.
Yeah, Jessica?
Yep,
You're allowed
got
to
it.
use it, you're allowed to sell it. Okay,
Okay.
but it hasn't been 100% fully turned over to you, because that's when you have on the 55 month that you finish up. That's what is unique about the Philippines versus Mexico, which I work with you in, so you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why I think it's a very unique opportunity, because you're allowed to leverage the developer's money.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
2.5, is that meaning 10% or 20%?
10%.
10.
But that's only up when it could be 24 months, it could be 28 months, it could be whenever it's just like in Mexico, they say 18 months, but it can take sometimes 24 months to finish the project. And their average, they're saying, is 3 years. Am I correct? Is the average for if I bought one of these units that wasn't almost ready, someone that I'm doing in pre-phase, because that's when you get the best deal on appreciation, is buying in first phase.
Correct.
It takes approximately 36 months or less for them to get my unit ready for delivery, unless I buy at the very top floor or something. That might take the full 36 months.
That's right.
This is going to be finished in 2029.
Right. Because it's
Okay.
what it is on the floors they're building.
My brain is spinning, Michael.
I know.
The balloon payment after the 55 months is on the 10% down payment or the entire contract price?
Sorry, I didn't hear that, Jessica, because I was listening, talking to someone else. What was that again? One more time?
The
Can
balloon
you
payment
answer?
after the 55 months, is that on only the down payment or the entire contract price?
Well, entire contract price is due after the 55 months.
Okay, got it. That's what I needed. That's what I
Yeah.
couldn't wrap my head around.
It's like trying, I don't know, put it. Yes, so what was your question? Yes, they do when they build, they go in phases and people occupy while they're working on the rest of the building.
So you can actually occupy while they're still building the bills. Wow. They give you a heart attack.
They do the same thing in certain developments in Mexico as well.
Not here.
No,
Yeah.
this is,
There's
this ain't the Philippines, this ain't Mexico. Again, you would be moving in a thing, but they do it, and it does, people do occupy and rent, because they want to be down in the central business district to be for work and things like that. All right, is there any more questions for anybody, or do Oh My Home have anything else that they'd like to add to this?
I think that we have to act fast, because the prices are going up every single year. And then in this building, we don't have that many units left. So it's good to make a decision sooner so that we can lock them in.
And there's no certificate of occupancy moving. And then again, the transfer fee, if we were to flip it, was only the $900
To the government.
to the government, and then the 5% to you, right?
Yes.
Right.
Question, if we were to occupy one of the lower units while the rest of the building's being built, how do they do the utilities for our unit? Also, you know, I mean, the air conditioning, does it have air conditioning and things like this, you know, electric and stuff? How do we get that and how do they do that? You know, I mean, not how, but do they do that? I mean,
I was about to say, you know, you have to use a little hot thing and, you know, and have a fire.
No, usually they have to complete the entire building to be approved for completion. Then you can have people to start moving in. So there could be renovations upstairs, but they cannot be still constructing the building.
So what they do is they, yeah,
The
they
one
do it
that
in
I-
a shell, just like they do in Mexico. They do shells. They do everything to a certain point. That's the 36 months. Okay. And then they start finishing the units as they're renting them out.
finishing touches.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So like, I don't know about the Philippines because I haven't bought the Philippines yet, but I'm going to. I haven't bought the Philippines yet, but in Mexico, they have to have all the amenities done and the shells done. They don't have to have the individual units finished. That means putting in the
finishes.
the finishes, yeah, but that has power, water for the whole building to answer your question.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the question
Yeah.
earlier, is there's no occupancy
While they're
until
building this basic shell,
the building is done.
not done to American standards. I just want to get this because I know how Americans are. It's done, it's a shell. It's like what you do for commercial. You know, you have, when you have a commercial building.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just a
built
shell.
out for finish.
Correct.
So there is a difference on the but the question was.
Yeah.
Are they occupying during construction? The answer should be no.
They are, but it's
Finishes.
not, it's
Finishes.
finishes.
Construction.
That could be still considered to them. Things that you would think would be construction, they consider being finishes.
All right, last question for me.
Yeah.
The process, if someone was interested in this, is it through them direct, or is it through you here and through them?
There you go. That was the last answer, was a good one. It's through both of us. I brought All My Homes to you all. You would work with me through All My Homes.
So is there two commissions that have to be paid?
No.
Well, Grace, you're working for free then if we're going to Michael.
That's right.
Free.
All right, so any more questions?
So who's handling the sales transaction?
They are.
Attorney or an escrow company?
Oh, that's a good question, Sweely. Leave it to a Singaporean to come up with that question. From one Singaporean to another, she's asking you who handles the transaction over here. Is it a transaction person or is it an attorney? That's right, because they don't have a script.
It has to still go through an attorney.
Goes through an attorney. All right, well, I greatly appreciate it, you guys. If they, you're gonna send me the copy of the, hopefully, put together, because I know we broke in the middle. But of the recording, so I can send it all to them. And again, you guys, if you have any questions, feel free to, in that, well, you have the scanner or the thing, you can reach out and talk to them. You don't have to go through me to talk. If you have questions, you can go directly to them. And they'll be more than glad to help. Do you remember they're in the Philippines? So it is a 12-hour time difference?
Like
15.
almost 9 a.m. here, almost 9 a.m. We started at 7 a.m.
Yeah, so it's a little less than,
Hey, Michael, we also have a current, I don't know if anyone in the room be interested. We have a WhatsApp group with kind of past attendees to meetings, which we'll do follow up and more questions can be asked. So if anyone there wants to be a part of that, just get us their information. We can add them to the group. So.
yeah, I can pass that, hook you into the WhatsApp group so you can talk to them directly. So I'll send that out to you all. It'll be tomorrow. All right, thank you very much. You all have a
Thank you
great
so much,
day.
everyone, for your time.
Thank you
We're
very much.
going to bed while you guys are gonna go to work.
Not bad. It's only 6 o'clock.
We have a deal to close, actually. So yeah.
All right, bye-bye now.
Thanks for
Hi, everyone. Nice meeting everyone.
Right.